You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Tonight's account is from a man who grew up in the wild foothills of the Washington Cascades, where the woods were both his playground and would become the fuel for his nightmares. And just a few steps away, he saw something that changed his life forever, and over the years, the strange events have not stopped. This is Keith's account, and it spans decades, states, and more than one kind of terror. So stay with us. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Keith today. Keith is an individual, listens over on the YouTube platform, I believe, so we got connected there. He is a master botanist that grew up in the Cascade foothills of Washington State. And I know a little bit about what we're about to get into. It's about to get pretty intense, so I'm looking forward to it. Keith, welcome to the show. How are you doing today, sir?
Good afternoon. Doing great.
Awesome. Keith, I love hearing about the Cascades. I actually got to go up into them in Oregon. They are not to be messed with. You do not underestimate them. I underestimated them. That's a different story for a different day. But, Keith, take us back as far as you need to when all these things started happening to you.
Okay. Well, I spent a lot of time growing up on the foothills of the Cascades there, Newcastle, Issaquah, Cougar Mountain, Tiger Mountain. And about 1979, 1980, I was playing with a group of friends at a dead-end street down the street from my parents' house. And just skateboard and, do all the things that kids did back and then. And the dead-end street led back into the woods. We had little bike tracks and stuff like that. And then there was two hills next to that. And for some reason, I think we were planning to go to one of our tree forts or something. So my friends had taken off to go home and meet me. They were going to meet me back in the woods on the top of this hill. It was kind of a lookout. You kind of look out across to Seattle and Lake Washington. And I was supposed to meet them up there. And I said, okay, well, I'm not even going to go home. I went back in the woods and started climbing the first hill. And this is probably June or July. I remember it being warm and very sunny that day. And I decided to climb this first hill. And finally got to the top of it. And I was cresting the top of the hill. And I heard branches breaking, and I caught something out of the corner of my eye. And I looked over my shoulder, and I see this big creature standing up. I catch it right when it's standing up. And it's a bizarre dark gray color covered in hair. And all I could see is its buttocks, its back, its shoulders, and part of its head. And it took 3 steps and it was gone. And I was close to this thing. I got a really good look at it. And it didn't make any noise. It didn't look at me. It just busted through the bushes and was gone. And my mind was going a mile a minute trying to figure out what I'm looking at. And the color was really bizarre. And I was just in awe. I was frightened, and I was kind of hurrying myself away looking at this thing, but it was going away from me. So I was glad about that. And I was quite frightened. And I said, I'm going to get out of here. So instead of climbing the next mountain to meet my friends, I cut down this ravine between my neighbors' houses and went home. And when I was walking away from this thing, I smelt this odor I've smelt many times before out in the woods, and it smelled like horse poop, body odor, and urine all at the same time. It was a very sickly, sweet smell. And I got out of there, went home. I tried talking to my dad about what I'd seen, and he was kind of like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It was probably this or that. You got a couple hours before dinner. Why don't you go out and play with your friends some more?" And so I never really brought it up again. I never talked to my friends about it. And after that, I was pretty paranoid about going into the woods by myself after that. It really frightened me. I didn't know what I was looking at. And as a child, our only experience with like Bigfoot and stuff like that was like, the $6 million man, and Leonard Nimoy at the time. And us as kids, we thought that was all, fiction. It wasn't real, stuff like that. That was never on our mind as when we were hanging out in the woods. So that was my first experience with really bizarre encounters in the woods behind my parents' house. And I'm trying to remember what the next thing that kind of happened. Then again, me and one of my friends, Steve, we decided to hike up to Cougar Mountain and stay at this place called Delisle Wall. And it's like a rock outcropping on top of the mountain that kind of looks over the backside of the Renton Highlands, May Creek, horse pastures and stuff like that. And we were going to camp the night up there. And I remember we were setting up camp there, and we had a whole bunch of like rocks and stuff tumble down the side of the cliff next to us, 20, 30 feet away. And, we're like, it could be anything, deer, whatever. There's a lot of critters out there. So we make our camp. Everything's cool. We start getting kind of a rainstorm coming through. So we're like, well, we better get in the tent and just, hunker down and let the storm pass or whatever. So we're sitting in there, we're trying to sleep, and it's raining and not raining, and then it's raining again. And we keep hearing this, like, stomping around 30, 40 yards away in the woods. And it sounds like something heavy is pacing back and forth. And my friend Steve's like, what is that? So I don't know, maybe somebody's out there messing with us or something. He goes, well, we got a gun and everything, so we had a rifle. And this went on, and my friend Steve started getting paranoid, and I was like getting paranoid. I said, hey, I'll shout out and say, hey, who's out there? Who's messing with us? We got a gun, leave us alone. And kept on hearing noise again. So Steve's like, why don't you shoot around through the top of the tent and see if we can scare whatever it is away. So I'm like, reluctantly, okay. And I fire one shot through the top of the tent, which was a really bad idea. It ended up striking the aluminum crossbar on top of the tent, and the tent basically falls down on top of us, soaking wet. And then we're like in panic mode. We got to fix the tent, or we've got to fix something here. So we end up taking a tarp and making kind of a tent out of a tarp with a fire in front of it. And we ended up sleeping under that the rest of the night. And then it became very quiet, and we didn't hear any more noise again, and it stopped raining. And that was a very unusual coincidence. And we'd walk around in the forest a lot of the time, and we'd hear entire trees falling over from time to time. And we didn't think much of that either, because there was a lot of dead trees, and we had a lot of windstorms there up there in Seattle. And we used to push trees over all the time. But this must have happened 5 or 6 times over a couple-year period. And as I got older, thinking back on this stuff, I just said, that's just really weird that we're witnessing these kind of things. So that was about 1983, 82, 83 when that happened. And then I remember the summer of 83, we were up at a tree fort which is now Newcastle Ridge. It's a big luxury home view neighborhood now that we used to tromp all over through the woods back there, and it's all homes now. But we had a tree fort up there with a nice rope swing, and kids from all over the neighborhood would hike up there and go on the rope swing and hang out and stuff like that. And me and my neighbor Doug were up there one evening, probably around 5:30. Just started kind of getting dark, I believe, and we were sitting up in the tree fort. I don't know what we were doing, but we all of a sudden we start hearing this very loud, very intense screaming, and it was loud. It sounded like a woman being torn apart, screaming for her life. And my friend Doug's looking at me and goes, what was that? I've never heard anything like that before out here. Was somebody getting hurt? And we were very frightened that something was happening to somebody. And I had a double-barreled shotgun that I'd carry up in the woods with me. So we were like, we were protected and everything. And this went on for 3 or 4 minutes, and then it got dark, and then we didn't hear it anymore. And a few months after that, we were up there again, and this screaming started. And this time, we went home and grabbed a deer rifle and a Mossberg 500 12 gauge, and we went back there looking in this area to see what was going on back there. And there was nothing around. It was dead quiet. Couldn't see anything. Didn't hear anything. And we went home. And just crazy stuff we'd hear out there. Another incident is we had a place where we would have campfires up on the hill behind the house, and me and groups of people would come up there and cook hot dogs and talk and stuff like that. And we would constantly hear somebody walking around in the bushes or in the tree line constantly. And me seeing and hearing this kind of stuff back in the woods, I was pretty paranoid, and I was always kind of on alert, and I noticed it right away, and I just kind of ignored it. And then another friend that was there was like, man, it sounds like somebody's over in the bushes there. Is there, got weirdos out here, something watching people? I said, I don't know. I hear a lot of things out here. And so that was weird. And then where I'd seen that creature at, there was a family that lived about 100 yards down the hillside, where I'd seen this thing, where I cut through the neighbor's yard there. They lived there, and my friend's mom would always question me. She'd see me. She's like, Keith, you guys been hanging behind the house at night? You guys been out there? I know you guys go out there all the time. I said, no, I'm never out behind your house at night. And she brought this up 3 or 4 times over like a 5-6 year period as I was growing up. And now it dawns on me today that maybe they were witnessing some stuff too and didn't know what was going on. So that was strange. And then let's see if I'm this online here. Let's see here. And so what's the other thing that happened here? So anyways, some of this relatively uneventful. And there was a time that this is around 1984. And me and a group of friends, we went to another tree. We had 3 or 4 tree forts back in the woods. And we went to this one that was quite large. It was like a big giant deck built up in a tree. And we'd go up there all the time. And we had a lot of strange experiences there as well. We would hear sound like people were talking, like gibberish, like women talking, but you could never make out what they were saying. And other friends said they would hear it as well. And that was strange. But this one night that we were up there, listening to music, and there's about four of us up there. And I was looking off. I was up in the tree fort, and I was looking off to the northeast, which would be kind of the direction where our houses were on the other side of the woods. And off in the distance, maybe 300-400 yards, I could see it looked like a porch light in the distance. And I was like, well, that's odd. There's no houses over there. There's no porch lights in that area. It was just a kind of like an abandoned field that was kind of overgrown. And we had walked by that area getting to the tree fort. So I thought that was odd. And we're, listening to music and doing, kids do stuff. And about 20 minutes go by, and I look over again, and this light looks like it's closer now. So now I'm kind of paying attention. I'm like, is somebody four-wheeling out there, or some kind of flashlight? But the light didn't look like it was panning around like somebody carrying a light or being a truck light on a four-wheel drive or something. It didn't look like anything. It looked like a 40 or 60 watt porch light bulb. And so I kind of started watching it, another 15 minutes goes by, and now it's about 150 yards away or so, and I can see it a lot better. And I look at my friends and I go, hey, guys, there's a weird light over here in the woods I've been watching. It's getting closer. And they're like, you're crazy. There's nothing over there. They can see the light. They don't think nothing of it. So this kind of transpired over about a 40-minute time frame here. So we carry on with everything again. I look over again, and this thing is getting closer and closer now. And I start getting worried. I don't say nothing to my friends. I'm kind of watching it. And it's like hovering and moving through the trees, similar to like maybe a drone would be kind of like, but it wasn't panning around or moving. It was like directly coming at us and not deviating from that at all, which was really weird, which frightened me. And it started getting closer, and it looked like a pyramid shape with 6 lights in it. And I look at my friends again. I say, hey, guys, hate to bother you again, but you might want to look at this light. And I said 3 or 4 of my friends were up there. They all go up to the edge of the tree fort, and they're looking at it, and they're going, what's that? And I said, well, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I don't know what it is. And it was moving at maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour. And it's probably about 12 feet off the ground. And it's slowly coming towards the tree fort. And it got within maybe 60 yards of us. And my friends flipped. They're like, let's get out of here. And we split down this tree fort. We practically fell out of the tree fort getting out of there. And we ran the opposite way. There was a trail that went to the south that we could that we ran through, and completely went around the entire woods back to our homes. And we never talked about that incident ever again. None of us. We never brought it up. And that was extremely frightening. And I don't know what I saw. I don't know what it was, but it really frightened us. And, after seeing some of these things, I didn't like to go out in the woods by myself. And I usually carried a shotgun with me or something like that if I did go out there. And so that had happened. And what else had happened? I had another experience there where we had a small little party up there one night. And I came back there to meet some people, and I had a 22 rifle with me. And some of the girls from high school were there, and they wanted to shoot my 22 into this tree. And I said, nah, that's not a good idea. I don't want to, alert, because there was neighbors not too far away, 100, 200 yards away. There's some houses and stuff like that. And I definitely didn't want the cops to come or anything like that. So we're standing there, and the next thing I know, I hear like a dog collar, and I see a light coming up the hillside underneath the tree fort. And I grab my 22 away from one of my girlfriends, and I haul out of there. I don't know if it was a cop, but I started seeing a light, and I saw a dog. And I said, oh, no, it might be a sheriff or something like that. So I split out of there. I get about 30, 40 yards away from this tree fort. I heave my 22 into the bushes, and I take off. I run home because I didn't want to get caught with a rifle, obvious reasons, being a young kid. So the next day, I go out there really early in the morning. I go out there like 6 in the morning. I said, I got to go find my rifle. And I knew exactly where I'd thrown it. So I went there, I was looking and looking and looking. I couldn't find it. And I'm like, somebody took it. Maybe it was a cop that took it or something. I'm going to get in trouble. So I'm really freaking out. I'm really worried about that. So I get back on the trail. And I start walking home. I get halfway down the trail, I look down, and there's my rifle sitting on the side of the trail, just sitting there. Exactly where I didn't put it. So how my gun got there and why my gun was there, I have no idea. So I picked my gun up, cleaned it off, and I took it home. Never had any cops come around or anything like that, but that was another really bizarre incident that I have no explanation for. That's pretty much the most relevant things that I witnessed, growing up there in the Cascades, the foothills. And, we'd walk around and hear miscellaneous wood knocks, voices, stuff like that. But like I said, we weren't out there looking for any kind of stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff I just blew off. It's just being critters or just, hearing things. And that's pretty much the most relevant things that I experienced out there over maybe from 1980 till about 1986. And then shortly after that, me and most of my friends, we had to get jobs and, grow up. And we didn't spend a lot of time out in those woods like we used to. We would once in a while, we would go to the dead end street, hang out, have beers and stuff like that. Later in our high school years and college years. And then a lot of us just kind of drifted apart because we just grown up. And I still remember going up there and hearing noises, people walking around, stuff like that. Another thing is we would get very paranoid and very frightened for no reason, which was really weird. You'd just be walking, all of a sudden we'd become frightened, like somebody was watching you. And like I said, I smelled that strange odor quite a few times. And to this day, if I smell it, I know exactly what it is. So pretty much in a nutshell, that's the most relevant things that I witnessed growing up there. And like I said, this was from 79 up to maybe 86 is when most of this stuff happened. And then, that's kind of pretty much the story of, I wish I had more for you, but that's pretty much, in a nutshell, kind of what I witnessed out there.
Keith, thank you for sharing all that. I mean, really intense stuff. I've never, so lights do come up on the show quite a bit, but I've never heard anyone describe something exactly like that, where, a triangle or pyramid shape with 6 lights in it. Very, very strange. And there were no drones or, things like that back then.
Not at that time. And like I said, when I was watching it, it wasn't like panning around like somebody was, following a trail with a flashlight. It was like it was controlled, and it didn't deviate. It went from when I first saw it, it just went directly through the trees where there was no trails. And it was really frightening. And like I said, my friends thought I was pulling their leg at first until they saw it. And we never ever brought it up again. And I don't know if that was probably one of the last times that we ever went up in that tree fort. And not only that, I've never seen lights out in the woods like that before. And if we did, it'd be like somebody on a motorcycle or, kids screwing around or something like that. And that was an experience I have no answers for. Mm. And I'm glad we got out of there because I don't know what it was. It almost looked. You ever seen one of those boxes that they put a veteran's flag in?
Sure.
It was about that size with 6 lights in it. And I said it got close enough where we could really take a look at it, and then we were out of there, man. We were practically falling out of that tree fort to get out of there, and we just ran, and then we never brought it up again. I was telling my brother about it, and he got really quiet because he hung out in those woods back in the 60s and stuff. My brother's a lot older than I am. I'm the youngest in the family. And I was going to tell him about, me seeing the big hairy creature, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him about that yet. And I actually brought that up with one of my friends by the name of Steve that I still talk to this day. And he got real quiet and kind of changed the subject about halfway through. I was talking to him about it. And I just said, okay, I'll just leave it alone. And like I said, this has bothered me for many, many years. And I had, when I was up in Mariposa, I was sleeping late at night up there at this farm. And this farm was like 3,500 feet and was way out there. And I remember talking to the guy's wife. She lived in town. They lived in town in an apartment there in Mariposa. And she was like, yeah, don't quit your day job. Don't hang out there a lot or something. And then she wanted to talk to me about how she never went up there ever. She wouldn't go up there for nothing. She doesn't want anything to do with that property up there. And it was so warm up there. It was about 105 degrees by like 12 or 1 o'clock. And I would sleep. I actually went and slept up on the roof on top of this house because it was like a very slight incline, and I was up above everything, and it was really hot. So I just slept on the roof for a couple of days up there. And I woke up about 2:33 in the morning to hear almost the exact identical kind of screaming, like somebody being torn apart, extremely loud. And I brought it up with the guy that owned the property. He didn't really say much about it. And then later on, he goes, yeah, you're the only one that's ever stayed up here that long. Because I was up there for like a week. I was fixing some stuff up in his property up there. And he was like, yeah, you're the only one that hadn't called me a 911 and want me to get him out of there. And I thought that was odd. And it's just kind of hard for me to remember all the stuff that happened over the years, because a lot of it I just blew off as just being nonsense, not thinking anything paranormal or
sure,
or Bigfoot.
Definitely. What was the year roughly again on the Mariposa incident?
Oh, and that was the summer of 2019.
Oh wow. Okay, so a lot more recent. Okay.
A lot more recent.
Yeah. So for people. For listeners, for context, Mariposa is in California, so this is not in Washington. This is down south of Yosemite National Park, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that area is intense. This would be probably 20. Let's see, how old is 9?
A lot going on out there.
2015-ish, 20 somewhere around there. I used to work for a big tech company. We got sent out for training, and one of the guys was like, let's go out to Yosemite for a weekend. And we ended up staying in this fun resort called the Yosemite Bug Resort, and it was way out in the sticks. You know it?
Whoa. Hold on for a second.
What?
You're not. I was going to bring that up.
Don't even say. Don't even say, dude.
Where the bug is.
Yeah.
If you look directly across the street from the bug,
oh no,
that would be south. The hill directly across south of that place, on top of that mountain right there, was where I was at.
No way.
Yeah, way.
What are the
chances?
The
bug's cool, man. Good food there. I mean, it's a nice place.
The bug is great. If you're looking, it was a cool place to hang out and, kind of, get a place to stay, but it's just a cool vibe. But you're out there and you're like, I am out here, and I wasn't into Bigfoot at the time. I can't imagine if I was into Bigfoot back then. I would have been in heaven, Yeah.
And, another thing too is like, I don't go out looking for this kind of stuff, and I don't research this kind of stuff. When I started hearing some of these programs, and a lot of them started getting close to home, like the experience with what was the Marine and his brother were at Rattlesnake Lake, and they encountered that 12-foot Bigfoot up on a creek up there. Do you remember hearing anything about that?
Was this on my show? I don't think. No, I don't think I've heard of this one.
Yeah, we used to hike that area quite a bit, and that's really, really. There's a lot of forest out there. That's in Seattle again. That's in Washington again, and it's close to Snoqualmie Falls.
Okay.
And there was what kind of interested me is when I heard this story, and this story's on it's on the net. You can look it up, and it's a story of a Marine and his younger brother were rock hounding at Rattlesnake Lake, and they decided to climb there's a big mountain there. It looks like the Matterhorn. It's beautiful, and you can hike to the top of it, and it's got a lookout. It's really intense. And apparently they went off the main trail and started following a creek up. And the brother in the Marine all of a sudden sees this thing in the creek. And he thinks it's a huge bear. And then his brother sees it, and the Marine's armed, by the way. This thing stands up and turns around. It's like 12 feet tall. And guy was describing as having like biceps the size of watermelons. And he said he had a gun, but he said there's no way I would have shot the thing. He says it was huge. He says it's like 12 feet tall. And that's what kind of when I started to remember back to my childhood of seeing this thing, that's what kind of sparked my interest in the subject again. And I'm surprised you haven't heard about that one.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I'm looking real quick. It kind of sounds like a BFRO report I just found. Did you say this was in the early 2000s? What was the year on this again?
Yeah, it had to have been the early 2000s.
Okay, I think I found it. But if anyone has an actual link or more specific info, go ahead, put it in the comments on YouTube. But oh man, that's intense, dude. Really, really intense. Thank you for sharing that, because there's so many stories out there,
Yeah, and like I said, I wouldn't even have called you unless I actually saw this creature. And like I said, I got a good look at it, but the color of it was just bizarre. It was dark, but it had this weird gray color to it at the same time. And I was just in my mind, trying to figure out what animal I knew that would be a color like that. And then being that big, I mean, its rear end was probably just up to my eyeballs. And that's what that's always been bothering me over the years, seeing that thing. And to this day, I'm paranoid about going into the deep woods. I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit paranoid and concerned. And I just went and looked at this acre property. Get this, in Willow Creek.
Oh, dude.
Okay. So my business associates want me to run this farm and ranch up there on acres. And I was talking to one of my business guys. He doesn't know anything about the wilderness. He doesn't go camping or anything like that. He's a banker. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is a big hot spot for Bigfoot out here. He goes, oh, yeah, really? And I'm like, yeah. So the guy that owns this property, he takes us in this four-wheel drive Toyota, which is ball tires. And we're slinking up these crazy roads. There's like drop-offs of like 500 feet. And this guy basically owns like a whole mountain range almost. So he's taking us up and showing us all these greenhouses and stuff. This place is just blown up. It's huge. And we got about halfway through the property, and we're like, yeah, we've seen enough. We've seen enough. And we get out to look at some stuff. And, there's still plenty of hill going up to the top of this mountain. And we're standing there. It's quiet. And all these rocks come tumbling down the side of this hillside. I don't say nothing. My business guy doesn't say nothing. And I think like a week later, he goes, yeah, wasn't that weird that all those rocks come tumbling down the side of the hill when we're standing out there? And I'm like, yeah, that was, kind of interesting. So, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be living out here by myself,
Right.
acres out here. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be interesting to be out here. And I'm like thinking, God, where can I buy a shotgun and stuff like that before I go out there? And I'd be honest with you, I probably wouldn't shoot at any of these things. I would leave them alone unless they tried to harm me or something like that. And what I'm getting, it sounds like most of these creatures up here in Washington State are relatively, I don't know if they're friendly, but they kind of avoid you and don't try to as much as some from other parts of the United States and stuff like that. That's what I'm kind of getting from it. But yeah, I definitely was a little rattled when that happened. And here again, it's kind of hearsay. It could have been anything. But my business partner did bring it up, and I thought that was kind of strange that he would bring it up because when I told him it was a Bigfoot hotspot, I guess it kind of may have bothered him a little bit.
Dude, man, you gotta keep me in the loop if you actually do end up going to this property and being the caretaker and what happens, because man, I got a feeling it's probably going to get interesting. My goodness.
It's right between Willow Creek and about halfway there. And I actually looked at it on a satellite, and the place is huge. And we didn't even go to the top. We didn't even go through the entire property. I mean, we must have been out there for almost 3 hours, going up and down these roads out there that this guy built. And we'll see if I take the job. I mean, I got to get paid pretty well to do this, so I ain't gonna go out there unless the price is right. Because
absolutely,
I live a pretty good life as it is right now, and taking on something like that, it's got to make sense. So we'll see what happens with that.
It will be interesting to see how it plays out. I do have a few questions for you about the sighting that you had, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you'd mentioned it was very close to you. How close would you estimate that it was?
Probably within 8 to 10 feet. This thing could have grabbed me. And been gone. And I walked about 5 or 6 feet past it, and that's when I heard it move. And it was probably within six feet off the trail, kind of hunched down in the bushes, and it was facing away from me. And as I looked back, I caught it standing up, and it just leaned forward and took 2-3 steps, and it was gone. Didn't make a peep. I heard it crunching through the bushes for a few seconds, and then it was gone. And the neighbor lady that lived really close to where this happened, like I said, she approached me 3 or 4 times over the years and asked if I'd been playing behind the house. I'm like, nope, I don't play behind there at night.
Gotcha. Wow. So that is so very close. And you saw the shoulders, the back of the head, the buttocks area, correct?
It looked like 4 Mike Tysons in a gorilla suit. Is what it looked like. The back of a silverback gorilla is what it looked like. It was heavily muscular. It was probably maybe 600 pounds or more. But like I said, the color was really bizarre. I've never seen a color like that on an animal before, at least in the animals I've seen in the Northwest. It was a really weird color.
Did you notice anything about the neck of it at all?
No, it didn't really have a neck. It was just all massive shoulders, and then I could see just the kind of a little bit of a conical shape of its head, sticking up. And I didn't see its feet, its hands, or its face. I'm glad I didn't see its face because I was really frightened enough, and my mind was going a mile a minute, man. I was like, what is this? What am I looking at? Why is it gray? What is it? And it it completely caught me off guard, and it scared me. And like I said, I didn't go meet my friends in the woods that afternoon. I cut down through the ravine through my neighbor's backyard and got out on my street by my house, and I went home, and I tried talking to my dad about it, and I think I ended up taking a nap. And after that, I was very, very careful about going out in the woods by myself. And Yeah.
Wow. What an incredible encounter. Keith, thank you for coming on the show and for sharing what you've experienced. And it sounds like your story may continue with some weird things. We'll see what happens in the future for you. Hopefully you'll be able to keep us in the loop with what happens. But man, it has been a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And one more thing. Now that I live down here in San Francisco right now, and I have run across a lot of people that have seen things in the wilderness here, by the way, a lot.
In San Francisco?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
There's a lot of people here that hike. A lot of people do they do trout fishing, remote areas, and quite a few of them have approached me without even knowing what I've never even said anything to them about it. So yeah, I've seen them before. My friends have seen them before. So yeah.
Oh, that's intense, dude. I mean, you never know. It's a thing where, you can be anywhere and you can have an interaction potentially, but you're on the West Coast and even more so. But man, what a great conversation. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, like I said, I've been wanting to get this off my chest for many years and actually try to talk to some of my friends. And I'm a little hesitant to talk to. I've talked to a few people about it, but it's bothered me for many years, and I just kind of wanted to get off my chest and let people know that I guess these creatures do exist. I saw one, so that's where we're at.
I just want to take a minute to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Keith's account is one of those rare encounters that stays with you, not just because of how close he came to the creature, but because of how the fear followed him for decades across states and through every quiet forest trail. Huge thanks to Keith for trusting us with his memories from Newcastle to Willow Creek. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new episodes, and share this one with a friend who's into Bigfoot, the Pacific Northwest, or just a good old mystery. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you're following the show there. If you'd be willing to leave a review, it really helps more listeners find us. Now, if you or someone you know has had a Bigfoot encounter, especially in Washington, California, or anywhere near the Cascade Range, or the world for that matter, I'd love to hear from you. So please send me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com and let's talk about it. If you haven't had the chance yet, go over to bigfootsocietypodcast.com and click the members login area. That's where our brand new membership community is. It's where you can hear all the members only episodes, the ad-free early release episodes, and you can hang out with people that are into Bigfoot as much as you are. It's a great time. A lot of really cool stuff to listen and watch. You're going to love it. So check it out. BigfootSocietyPodcast.com, members login area. Thanks again for following along with the Bigfoot Society. I know a lot of you listen every night. I do appreciate it. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there. And see you in the woods.